Hello, guys. How are you today? And so we'll be looking today on workplace health, safety, and security procedures. All right. So, you are housekeepers or food and beverage servers, whatever work area you are in the hospitality industry. We have to be mindful that hospitality is a service industry. And so, because it's a service industry, it means that, you will be interacting with people, you'll be interacting with individuals because of the service that is provided. So, hygiene is very important to the hospitality industry. Poor hygiene practices in the hospitality industry can lead to bacteria contamination, it can lead to cross contamination, it can lead to foodborne illnesses, and it can lead to other safety and hygiene risks. The objectives of occupational health and safety is to protect workers from stress and hazards in the work environment. And we're going through all of these. It is also one of the objectives is the provision of emergency medical care for the occupational ill or injured person, and that is why they have health card at most workplaces for permanent workers. And some industries, some hotels too, will have their nurses available on property. The placement of an applicant too is one of the objectives of occupational health and safety is for the placement of an applicant in a job that commensurate with his physical and emotional capacity, which he can perform without danger to himself or his fellow workers. What does that mean? You want to ensure that the person that you are hiring to carry out the duty that they are capable of doing so efficiently and effectively, and they are able to follow basic or sometimes not only basic but policies and procedures to help with safety. That's why in most job places they'll have you do some form of assessment or medical before you are determined before they determine whether or not you are fit for the job. Another objectives is the maintenance of health through health promotion and specific preventative medical procedures, such as you'll have a lot of firms now are having team building days, having fruit days, water day, just to help to promote health. Sometimes they'll have a little health fair where they will include, well, where they will invite various medical professionals to visit the property, and these medical professionals will provide medical advice. Sometimes they'll do some basic checkups and they may advise, I think you may need to go to another medical care, get further medical assistance. And so that is one of the objectives. Another objective is the control of potential hazards in the workplace. So we'll be looking at some definitions. Health refers to the state of well-being of a person, whether good or bad. Security deals with the protection of individuals against risk, such as theft, terrorism, dishonest individuals, and violent and aggressive persons. That's why most workplaces will have some security at the property, some security at the gate. They want to protect their staff or their work guests from any person that will just enter the property. Or, sometimes you may have some staff or guests too who may become a bit aggressive. They are there to assist in the process. Safety is the freedom from those conditions which can cause injury or death to person and damage or loss of property or equipment. Hygiene make reference to sanitary practices, and housekeepers must bear in mind that this is very important for them. It is practices such as frequent hand washing that helps to ensure cleanliness and good health. Remember too that this unit covers not only housekeeping but dining room, food preparation, all those different areas in the hospitality industry. We'll be looking at contamination now. What is contamination? This is the unintended presence of harmful substances or organisms, especially in food. Cross contamination now, this refers to the transfer of harmful microorganisms from one food to another, and this can be done through your hands or utensils or equipment equipment, even the very clothing that you wear can transfer harmful substances to your food when preparing. We'll be looking at workplace hygiene. This refers to the practice associated with ensuring good health and cleanliness and just maintenance of good health and healthy living and healthy practices in the environment of the workplace. And so both of them takes, and we'll look at personal and environmental hygiene as we continue. The term hygiene appears in phrases such as personal hygiene, domestic hygiene, dental hygiene, and occupational hygiene, and is frequently used in connection with public health or personal care. Hygiene is also a science that deals with the promotion and the preservation of health. Alright, so we're going through all this now, hygiene and all the other terminologies. For the hygiene procedure in the hospitality industry, hygiene procedure established in the hospitality industry, and it is related to personal hygiene and environmental hygiene. And I gave some of the definitions a bit earlier. What is personal hygiene? Personal hygiene may be described as the principle of maintaining cleanliness and grooming of the external body. It is generally looking after yourself. It just means taking very good care of yourself and presenting yourself well. Some of the practices to ensure good personal hygiene are washing of your hands. Whenever you touch surfaces or counters, pencils, knobs, wash your hands. Before preparing or serving food, wash your hand. When you use the restroom afterwards, wash your hands. After you shake someone's hand or make other physical contact with peers or guests or colleagues, wash your hands because you don't know what kind of bacteria or germs can be transferred. Wash your hands after sneezing, after touching your face, your nose, touching, rubbing your hands together, your clothing, or involving other activities such as when you handle raw food, after handling dirty kitchen utensils and kitchenware, after cleaning, sweeping, or mopping. It is important to wash your hands. Pay attention to your personal appearance. Wear correct uniform and protective clothing. Wear a clean uniform at all times. Housekeepers, remember that how you present yourself will also impact the image or the perception that the guests have of you and the firm. Ensure that all loose items of clothing are secured, such as buttons and hooks, etc. Personal hygiene as we continue. Some of the practices that to ensure good personal hygiene as we continue. Keep your nails short and clean. Bathe regularly. Keep your hair clean. Cover it if you are in the kitchen. Practice good dental hygiene, and we'll look at some oral hygiene tips. Alright, so daily brushing with toothpaste and flossing the teeth to prevent tooth decay and gum disease. And when you do this, it helps to prevent bad breath. Chewing of gum or rinsing your mouth with antibacterial mouthwashes such as Listerine can also dispel bad breath. But make sure that you are not allergic to these things, because I know that some persons have allergic reaction to some mouthwashes. So make sure that you are that if in order or before you use a mouthwash, it's sometimes good to seek medical advice if you have very sensitive skin, or if you are normally very allergic to different types of substances. Avoid contact with body fluids such as body, face, urine, and vomit. Wear clean underwear. These are some practices. Good hygiene are pantyhose and tights and cleaning. Frequent washing of the face. Alright, these are some of the don'ts of personal hygiene. Do not bite your nails. I know a lot of persons like to do that, but it is a practice that must be dispelled. You know, avoid wearing nail polishes or false nails as a housekeeper. Know your company policies on that too, because some firms are definitely adamant about the false nails because it has a lot of implications. Do not smoke in food preparation areas. Avoid chewing gum. Wearing of strong perfumes are a no-no if you work in food preparation, or if you are a housekeeper or dining room, or even in the bar. Handle your body parts or make contact with guests, you must avoid that. So do not handle your body parts and then make contact with guests, food or linen. Avoid wearing jewelry in food preparation, housekeeping, maintenance, and the food service area. Why? Sometimes the jewelry get in contact with equipment or food, and that can cause serious danger as well as food contamination. Do not handle food or shake hands if you are sick. That's the transfer of disease and germs and bacteria right there. As it relates to environmental hygiene, and this has to do with a clean environment likely to prevent bacteria, infections, or disease from spreading. Now, here are the do's of environmental hygiene. So, we did the don'ts of personal hygiene, now the do's of environmental. Maintain a clean work environment. Keep equipment and surfaces clean. Sanitize all surfaces, linen and reusable containers. Dispose of all waste in the appropriate lined bins. Remove garbage bins from the Remove garbage bins from the respective areas regularly. Ensure that the bins are washed, rinsed, and sanitized properly. When you are storing items, store them in a well ventilated area, especially chemicals, so that the air can pass through, because sometimes the very fume itself can become toxic and cause problem. Label correctly the items, any bottle there, anything that you're using, ensure that they are correctly labeled. Do not mix chemical. I can't overemphasize this because it can cause a combustion and it can cause fumes and all of these things that can be destructive to your health. Wear protective clothing when handling chemicals. Store non-food items away from food and beverage areas and items. Ensure that you use your warning signs for storage area and use chemical for the task assigned. Make sure that you use the appropriate chemical for the cleaning that you are performing. Now, what is safety? Safety is basically freedom from those conditions which can cause injury or death to person, damage or loss of equipment or property. Now, I want you to bear in mind that all of these that we have discussed is so important that you follow them to the T. Or know your company policies and procedures. A lot of firms may have some little different ways of doing it, but the general information is for any firm that you're working with. But also be mindful that they may have their way of doing things. Security deals with the protection of individuals against risk such as theft, terrorism, dishonest individuals, and violent and aggressive persons. No, we went through all of that definition, so now we're looking at health. Health refers to the state of well-being of a person, whether it is good or bad. You can be in good health or you can be having health challenges. An emergency plan specifies when you work in the hospitality industry, most countries they require that businesses, not only hotels and food establishment or different entities in the hospitality industry, but it is normally a general rule of thumb that businesses must have an emergency plan. An emergency plan specifies a procedure for handling sudden and unexpected situations. What are the objectives of these emergency plans? The objectives are to prevent fatalities and injuries, to reduce damage to buildings, stock, and equipment, and to ensure that when there is an emergency, you can have the resumption of normal operations speedily. So it also includes the acceleration of the resumption of normal operation. You would not want there to be an emergency, and because you did not follow the emergency plan, someone got injured, or even worse, someone died, or you have caused damage to important documentation or the computers that you have to work with. So you want to ensure that you follow the company's emergency plans. Now, some examples of emergencies are flood, fire, hurricane, accidents, and there are more. Bombs, threat are also an example of emergency. An angry or irritated customer is an example of emergency. Robbery, all of these things. Now, as we continue in health and safety, fire sometimes can occur in the business. And we will not necessarily go through what to do when there's a fire. I'll post another video for that. But in all companies, fire notices should be it should be displayed in areas that is visible by staff and guests. So a fire notice is a notice that advise customers and colleagues what to do when there is a fire. Now these are the things that should be included in the fire notice: the evacuation route, because most cases when there is a fire you should not take the elevator, you must take the evacuation route. All right, it also tells you where the emergency exits are located, where you should go and assemble, where the assembly points are, and who should conduct the role plays. All right, there will be another video that gives more information on this. As a housekeeper, part of ensuring safety of your guests and colleagues is you have to be observant of suspicious persons. So if there is a so whenever there is a suspicious person, and so suspicious persons are just persons who display behavior that are questionable, or who is in an area are just acting out of place, or in an area that they are not supposed to. Take note of these persons. How should you handle suspicious person? Watch them keenly, but don't let them know that you are observing them. It is very important. Don't approach them, just observe them keenly and unnoticeably. Call security and give a description of the person, where they are. So you're going to call security, good afternoon, sir, or your host, or your supervisor, depending on your firm. Let them know, I am at room 23 in block 12, and I observe a tall male. He is wearing a blue jeans, a white shirt, and a black sneakers. He's really acting out of place. I am concerned about his behavior. Can you come and check it out for me, please? So you're giving detailed information. And remember, never approach the person. No, a housekeeper must also be mindful of suspicious packages, because not only do you clean the rooms, but you clean the public areas. So anything that seems out of place can be considered suspicious. Remember, not all the time they are, but it can be considered. Inappropriate labeling and items left unattended for a period of time are considered suspicious. If you hear a ticking sound, or if there are powdery substances all over, then that is suspicious. If it looks greasy and a lot of errors on the packages, it can be considered suspicious. Now, when you're handling suspicious packages, do not shake or empty the contents of any suspicious package or envelope. As a matter of fact, do not touch it, leave it. All right, do not examine it or remove it. What you should do, try as much as possible to get your supervisor and your security notified of the situation, and you must try as possible to prevent persons from going in that area. Sort of block it off, but do it tactfully and follow your company procedures. I can't overemphasize, every firm have their procedures. Follow it as much as possible. No, one of the things that you have to bear in mind, we did the objectives of the occupational health and safety before. One of the things that you have to bear in mind, that you as a housekeeper, you have an important role to play in the safety of others. You have to be observant. You have to do your work well. You have to clean well so you don't spread bacteria around. You have to take note of persons who are not who are behaving suspiciously, or packages and so on. You also have to report maintenance issues. When you report the maintenance issues, it prevents accidents and incidents, and it protects your workplace and thereby protecting your job. Some of the benefits of occupational health and safety, it helps to reduce lost time. All right, so when you follow these occupational health and safety procedures, it prevents you from not being at work, or staff from not being at work too. It helps to reduce work related accidents, injuries, and incidents. It reduces in workers' compensation and compensation for guests too, and reduction in persecution. We are also going to look at the role of the environmental health officer. When you look at safety and so on, you have to think about environmental health officer, because they do inspect businesses, they inspect firms, they inspect companies, they inspect the hospitality industry, firms that are connected to. They also inspect food and beverage companies and restaurants, all these places. They are there to provide advice on public health and environmental health issues. So if you notice a particular some discrepancies as it relates to health and safety in a firm or a business, or if some a hotel or a motel, you can report it. They also conduct environmental health assessments. They also conduct food safety training for managers and supervisors in the hospitality industry. They train food handlers of all categories. They develop and manage environmental health projects. They also investigate environment nuisances. So if they, you realize that people are dumping at a particular site or a business, every time the hotel have waste, they throw it at a particular area, you can report it. They also put you in touch with other regulatory bodies such which involve environmental protection. What can they do now if they notice that a establishment is found to be unsanitary? So the food now prepare good, or now clean the place good, things just not right. They can issue an improvement notice request, which would stipulate that certain hygiene measures are to be taken in order to improve the condition of the establishment within a specific time. They can also issue what is called a prosecute the proprietor for, they can also prosecute, my apologies, the proprietor for breach of food hygiene regulation. If the court believes that the public is at risk, it will issue a prohibition order which will close the business or part of the business that does not comply with the regulation. So they can issue, they can persecute the proprietor, the owner of the company. Take note. And for those of you who are also operating Airbnbs and other such entities, are your restaurants and so on, take note. The health officer can also issue an emergency prohibition notice. If they believe that the offense imposes an immediate health risk, this they can issue the emergency prohibition notice. What does this do? This will close the premises immediately for 3 days. The matter will then be taken before the court, and the court will make the decision as to what to do. All right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are looking at for today. I hope you enjoy today's video. Please remember to like and subscribe.